out of there. So all in all, even though it was virtual, had some good vibes coming from that. That's all I have.
So I too want to echo, at the secondary level, we had all virtual conferences as well. It's the first time that we've done that. And teachers had to set up a new program that they had not used before. And so going through setting that up and getting that ready and then Zooming with all their parents, I want to thank them for the work they put into that. And I heard nothing but really good feedback on that, and there was a lot of attendance from parents on that. Also, it can't go without saying congratulations to Fox High School football, district champs. So they are now in the Final Four, and they will play against DeSmet at DeSmet. And I believe that game actually starts earlier than usual, 6 o'clock on Friday. So congratulations to them and that team. I also want to give a shout out to Midwest Bank, and I know we've talked about this before, but they support our district and our teachers and our classrooms so much. And you'll see this later on the agenda, but we've had several secondary schools that have applied and received grants, and Fox High Schools is 6,000 plus. So I appreciate them and their support for our school district. And then the last thing I have is back to what Randy said. I just want to thank the nurses for all of their work. Contact tracing and making sure that we're staying on top of that. I appreciate that. And for secondary parents, don't forget we are making choices for second semester on if you want your child to be hybrid or if you want them to be all virtual. So that goes through Friday.
Mr. Shalhoub. I've mentioned this before, but I really believe, as terrible as this is, there's some good things that I believe, and maybe some good practices that will come out of it. One, you've just mentioned, and that is the parent conference via Zoom. We participated in that as a parent, and it was outstanding, to be honest with you. First of all, you had complete privacy, and there was no distractions. It was really, really effective, and that may be something that comes out of this that we want to try to continue. You know, other people may have different ideas about it, but I thought it worked out pretty darn good. So that was a real positive. And there's some other things that have come out of this. But the good news, folks, it looks like we can see the light at the end of the tunnel now. There's been some news that's come out, so we're not going to suffer through this forever. And we just need to do our dead level best to try to stay with it, support our kids, and stay safe in the process. And because in 6 months, maybe this will be something that we don't have to worry about anymore.
No comment.
I would just like to add and commend our superintendent for the volume of work and time she's put in to try to make this COVID situation work to the best of the district's ability. I commend her for that. She stayed on top of that, and she's well updated and knows the CDC guidelines and what's happening in the community, and uses those dictates pretty much to decide what happens on a day or weekly basis in the district. And I'm glad she's done that job well and kept up with all the changing dynamics of the environment we're in right now.
Mr. Stewart.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to all of our support staff folks, our bus drivers, our food service, custodians, maintenance, the office staff that, they're there day in and day out, and they're getting our kids to and from school. They're getting them fed, keeping the lights on, the bills paid, things fixed, and things cleaned. So I just want to say thank you very much for all their hard work. I want to share a piece of good financial news in terms of our self-funded insurance fund. So concerning the balance of that fund, it's currently moving in the right direction. At fiscal year end, so June 30th, 2020, Our balance in that fund was approximately $424,000 higher than it was in 2019, so that's good news. Also, the decline of our balance from June through October was less in 2020 than it was in 2019. So that's also good news. And that smaller decline over that period of time leaves our balance at October 31 approximately $489,000 higher than it was a year ago. So that's more good news. Now, the decline that I mentioned from June to October, it's an annual occurrence that's normal. And the reason for that occurrence is in June, we pay out all the summer pays for June, July, and August. And so we collect the premiums for June, July, and August all in June. We don't collect any premiums in July and August, but we continue to absorb claims during those months. So that's a normal decline. So things are moving in the right direction for our insurance fund.
I just wanted to mention that on the morning of the parent-teacher conferences, we also had a half-day PD day, and most of our teachers participated in PLC time and in virtual professional development, and most of that virtual professional development was provided by other teachers. So I just want to thank the teachers who put in the extra time and effort to share their learning with their colleagues and make that morning beneficial. Also, just this evening, we had our 4th meeting of the K-5 math curriculum writing team, where we've been reviewing resources to bring to the board for adoption in the future. And we've been reviewing 11 different products, and this evening we managed to get it narrowed down from 11 to 8. So we still have a lot of work to do, but there's a lot of work going on. So thank you to the teachers who are participating in that also.
Our district calendar committee has met a few times now, working on a calendar for next year and a draft of a calendar for a year after, or for the year after. So we've made some progress, and we will be meeting again in a couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll have a first draft to share with the board soon.
I'd like to say to Dr. Gilman, the report card that came out this year I thought was great, easy to understand, very happy with that. And I'm going to just kind of repeat what Dr. Shalhoub said about the Zoom meeting. I've heard that the parents felt like it was a more personal way to talk about their child, and they didn't have somebody waiting in line behind them, or a child interrupting, or a parent coming in for a last-minute update. So I think the Zoom meeting would be a perfect way to continue regardless of the conditions of our schools. And definitely, Mr. Grunwald, Dr. Patel has done a great job bundling information and going back and forth with all of the experts on this COVID thing. And I don't envy her making decisions about this, because no matter which way we go, there are people who are not happy. And I think her objective is the same as the Board of Education, mainly keeping our kids safe. So thank you, Dr. Patel, for your time and efforts in doing that.
Tonight was actually supposed to be set aside for recognition on all the kiddos, and it's so sad and quite a bummer that we weren't able to do that tonight. But just know that we're rooting for you kiddos, and just try your very best and stay focused. And when your teacher assigns that you are supposed to be on a Zoom call, please get on that Zoom call. Parents, do everything you can to encourage your child to participate, because it's got to happen, or they won't be successful. Congratulations again to Fox High School football for winning districts, and good luck at conferences. Congrats to all the kids who took the ACT. That score was just released, and hoping that you improved 1 or 2 points. If not, hopefully you stayed the same. But I think that the kids that have improved, it shows grit. It shows everything that we've taught the kids in this district about perseverance and accountability.
So good job to all the kiddos that improved. I would agree with everyone about conferences. Conferences were great. I did 6 or 7, like bam, 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 and it was very personal, and it was ideal. And other than that, I just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Sometimes my family always tells me to keep my mouth shut, and they probably are watching and they're thinking, oh my gosh, Mother. But I just want everybody to realize that Dr. Patel wants all the kids in school, and we would like the kids to be in school. And is it confusing? Yes. But if we want our kids in school, there are going to be times that we're in and times that we're out. And emails go out. Students have conversations with the teachers via Zoom. Hopefully they do understand when they're supposed to be in school and when they're not supposed to be in school. And to the parents who want their kids in school, there are reasons that the school was closed for virtual. And one of those reasons really hit home for me yesterday, because every night of a school night, we get a list of emails of all the schools who have people testing positive. And what happens, whether there's more contact tracing, whether there are students that were affected, whether there are staff that was affected. And on Monday, when I hit the email button, it went, and I was like, oh my gosh. And as I sat down and read every single email, all but one or two, and there were a whole bunch, all but one or two said, one staff member tested positive, 2 staff members tested positive, 2 students tested positive, 1 student tested positive. But almost all of them said, due to the fact that we were not in school and no one was confronted with the COVID, there was no further action needed. So being out of school that 1 week protected a lot of people and allowed staff to heal. And we want the kids in school, but do you want your child in a classroom without a teacher? And so sometimes there aren't enough subs. And so Dr. Patel and the board, we want them in school, and so if we're in school and then we go out of school, there's a reason. And if we go back in school, it's because we continue to get emails, even today, in the middle of red, in the middle of a lot of people testing positive, that the people still want their children in school. So we're going to have to accept the fact that we are out and we're in. We're out and we're in, if you want your kids in school as often as possible. And so going out protects everybody and allows staff and students to heal. And so, you know, I have a lot of friends who personally will send me emails and they will say, I want my kids in school. And sometimes I think that the attitude of the parent comes across in the child. And if the parent is upset, that upsets the child. And so even in this troubled times with social emotional things really flaring high, sometimes we as parents have to look and see what kind of attitude are we putting forth to our kids in the situation we're in, and how could we be as positive as we possibly could to affect the social and emotional well-being of our children. And I know it's hard for parents, it's hard for children, but if people want their kids in school, then it may be in and out, in and out. And are we going to have to pay attention? Yeah, we're going to have to pay attention. But it's only because there are reasons for that being out. And a good example was when we got those emails that said, all of these people tested positive, but no further action was needed. There was no quarantine. And so I just saw it for myself, how beneficial it was to be off for a few days and that not affect students and teachers, and us to be able to come back to school because everybody's well. So thank you to the parents who are working so very hard to help teachers educate their kids. Thank you to the teachers who are going above and beyond, to everybody in the district who is working so hard to make this work. Nobody's going to always be happy, and we just have to try to make the best of every day and everything we can possibly do.
Okay, I made a mistake a while ago, and so I'm gonna, Dr. Patel was supposed to do superintendent's comments before we did the cabinet and board member retreat comments. So I'm gonna make my comment, and then she can do her comments and go right into the update. So I apologize for messing up the agenda. Basically, I don't want to repeat what everybody said, but again, if people will just bear with us, we will get through this. Everybody is working their dead level best, and I cannot thank everybody enough for what you're doing. And I know the bottom line is, even when we disagree about what needs to happen, we all have the same goal, and that's wanting the kids back in school, but we have to do it safely for students and staff. I want to take a moment to welcome Judy Turney to as board secretary. Jamie is not leaving. What she's doing is she's moving to another position. She's going to be secretary to Dr. Gilman and Dr. Cardona. And as part of that, I'm just going to brag on Dr. Patel here for a minute. As part of trying to cut expenditures, Dr. Patel has graciously said that she's going to not have a secretary. She's going to have other people help out in the office, and I know that's going to be a joint effort. People will do that. They'll work as a team, and so that will save the district some money, and I applaud her for that decision. And Judy will be excellent. I know Jamie's going to be doing some training, but she's not going to be gone, so we'll have that support. She's done a great job, and I want to thank her for that. And I think it's going to work out great. We had a retreat tonight, and we worked through a lot of things, but one of the things we did do was set some, I think this is the first time that's ever happened where the board set goals. And so we came up with 3 goals that we're going to work toward as a board, and I think that'll give us a good direction of focus. And the first one is to in the area of finance, to practice responsible budgeting and transparency in the management of funds. The second one is to improve student achievement at all levels with all subgroups to ensure success. And the third one is in the area of communication, which affects culture and climate and safety. And that is to develop communication protocols and procedures that ensure staff and student voice at all levels. And I guess actually one thing we admitted out there, it should be parents to community members. So I just think that's a good thing that we've done, and when we get off task, we can help bring each other back. So again, thank you, Dr. Patel. Your turn. You get to do 2 things now.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hanson. Okay, so we will go right into COVID update. As far as superintendent comments, I usually get to go first, so I usually get to congratulate everybody, and then Dr. Gilman and Dr. Cardona are like, she took my news, she took my news. So today they took my news. So basically, I want to thank all the teachers for parent-teacher conferences. Kudos to Fox High School's team. That is wonderful, and that is grit and perseverance indeed for being district champs. First time in the history of our district, so that's outstanding. I wanted to thank the nurses, that was on my list as well, and just the parents for all of your patience and understanding. I know it's a rough time. So we're gonna segue right into the COVID update for this board meeting. And you know, I always start off with some data that we have gotten. So the first screen right there, this is just a snapshot from our own internal website that we have posted. Right now we've got, this is currently right now, positive students about 38, positive staff members 25, and then students in quarantine 374, and 71 staff members in quarantine. So that's Fox C-6 internal data, and then Jefferson County data. This is the one that is eye-opening. So what I did was I put it by week, so you can see it starting October 11th. You can see the 7-day rolling average, and you can see the positivity rate. It went from 21.97 all the way to 95.05. Anything above 25 new cases, rolling averages were in red. And the positivity rate is way above the 5% that World Health Organization recommends. So knowing all that data, if you go to the next slide, JP, this drills it down, which we always do, by student age group, right? 0 to 19. There was a dramatic increase in the number of positive cases in the 0 to 19 age group over the past couple of weeks. People can attest that maybe to Halloween, we don't know, but that's probably one of the reasons. So you can see between the last 2 weeks, just the bars. I know it's hard to look at the numbers, but if you just look at the trajectory of the bars, how much they're increasing in the 0 to 19 age group. The next slide shows you again by zip code, and I haven't shown this in a while, but I just again want to remind everybody that when we talk about Fox C-6, we're touching a large part of our county. You know, I know that we compare ourselves sometimes to other districts, but we are different. We have more zip codes than any other district, so that's 6 zip codes out of there, and the majority of them are the highest ones. So if you look at the orange bar, again, it's hard to look at the numbers, but the orange bars kind of tell you the active cases, and the blue bar is all cumulative cases. But the yellow is the ones that we touch, Fox C-6. So all that tells us is that, yes, we're in red. Yes, we have a lot of transmission. Yes, we have a lot of positive cases. So what are some things that we need to consider when we're making decisions? JP? Okay, so first thing, you know how we've been sending the emails every time we're in red? Our plan was to bring back K through 2 students, start phasing them in. And we said from the beginning, if we're in red, we will not begin that phasing in process. So for right now, we are going to put a pause on it. So you won't be getting an email every week saying, okay, we're pushing it back, we're pushing it back. Just know when we're in red, we're not going to be starting. And I just wanted everybody to understand that. And the reason is, I've said this before, whenever you start something new, you want to start it in the best condition possible that you can have. When we bring in more kids, we are not going to be able to social distance. We will try, but it's not going to happen with the number of kids we'll have in the classroom. So you don't want to set yourself up with having more kids in the classroom when the transmission rate is as high as it is. It's just not a smart move. It's not a safe move. So we're going to pause on it. As soon as we get back to orange, we'll start talking about bringing them back in. We already know K through 2 is set, so that would be easy in terms of staffing and scheduling wise. Second thing, our goal is to maintain hybrid as long as we can. That means having kids in person. We've done that from day one. There are not many districts that can say that they've done that from day one. We have tried and we have succeeded, and that is because of our teachers. They are working diligently to make it happen. No matter how you look at it, you have a teacher who's teaching hybrid, you could have a teacher that's teaching the virtual. It is a lot, and there is no doubt about that. So it is successful because of our teachers. Now, maintaining that hybrid plan, in order to keep doing that, we have got to take windows of opportunity and make them better for us. That's why last week, when we had 2 days we could convert to virtual, we got 9 full days of not being in the building. And as Ms. Smith said, we were able to not have as many quarantines as a result. It gave us some time to breathe, and we all need that. So maintaining the hybrid plan does mean we have to go in and out sometimes, and I apologize to all the parents because I know it causes confusion. I apologize to all the teachers because I know then you have to work around the plans, etc. But if we want to keep kids in school, we're going to have to ebb and flow. And from the very beginning, when parents chose whether they're going to be in the flexible learning plan or the Fox C-6 Academy, they knew if they chose the flexible learning plan based on transmission level, we could be shifting. Now, we tried to avoid it as long as we could, but that was part of the deal, and we had to do that this time. Staffing is another big piece. With the transmission level that it is impacting our schools. No matter how much we try to avoid it, it is, because we are not able to appropriately and safely staff our buildings the way we want to. Bottom line. We want to have quality teachers in each classroom, but when you are struggling to staff even a high school that has 10 unfilled spots, that is hard, because at a high school you've got 7 classes, There's no teacher, so you're going to plug in 7 different people 7 different times throughout the day. It is difficult. Same at the middle school and same at the elementary. So staffing is a concern. And that's no fault of anybody's in terms of transmission within the schools. It is happening in the community, so it is going to touch us. So we're going to do our best, but that also impacts whether we're going to be in school or not. Planning for second semester, I know I'm getting a lot of emails and a lot of feedback on the frustration that's coming from parents in terms of how can you ask me to commit for second semester right now? I know it's difficult. I know it is a struggle to decide to do this, but please understand, if we don't get that information, we can't plan for second semester. We can't staff appropriately. Creating a master schedule at a high school is mind-boggling, and you need time to do that, and you need to know which kids are going to be coming to school and which are not, and that's how you assign teachers. So if we don't have that information, we can't do that. And then all of a sudden, it'll be like, well, what were you doing all this time? Why isn't this planned? That's why we tried to get that commitment forms out for secondary right now. So again, parents, I know it's hard to pick for January. We don't know what it's going to be like, but we're going to have that information. So pretty soon we're going to be sending out elementary commitment forms, probably either next week or the week after for secondary as well, because we've got to figure out our staffing needs. And especially if our goal is to separate virtual from hybrid, we have to have that information. So that I wanted to make sure we talked about that. And then finally, how do we continue? It goes back to maintaining the hybrid plan. I know that the staff, and rightfully so, you like to hear decisions before before I get a chance to talk about it, but we've talked about it as a board, and we can have this conversation right now. But with Thanksgiving coming up, I would like, and I want us to talk about it, I would like to recommend we go Monday, Tuesday, which is next week, virtual, and then the week after, virtual, and then be back in hybrid. So I'm going to say that one more time. I would like next Monday and Tuesday to be virtual, and the week after Thanksgiving to be virtual. Why? The reason is we're going to try and make sure, right, that during Thanksgiving we practice all the mitigating factors. We avoid traveling. We wear our face masks. We avoid the gatherings. And I know that's hard during Thanksgiving, but we've got to do it. I have not seen my dad in 2 years, and I wanted to see him this December, but I can't. So I ask that, I know that's difficult, but we've got to do what's best. So if you do end up getting together over Thanksgiving with your family, if we're not in school that following week, it's just like what we did last week, right? If your symptoms end up coming, you show symptoms, research says most of the time your symptoms will show up between 5 to 7 days after your first exposure, you'll still be at home. You won't be at school. That's why the week after. And the 2 days next week, Monday and Tuesday, it allows everybody, the Friday would be our in-person day. So if you were going to have symptoms, hopefully you would have it before Thanksgiving, if you end up having a gathering, and you would know. So I would like the board to consider that Monday, Tuesday virtual, and the week after virtual, and then we return back for hybrid for 2 weeks before heading back to the winter break. So, thoughts?
Do you want that in the form of a motion, or what?
That would be great, yeah.
So I want to make
move that
sure,
we,
can I,
Let me look at my calendar. Somebody have that calendar in front of
It
them.
would be December 3rd, I think, would it not?
Correct. No.
do I have that wrong? Or are we be coming back the 7th of December?
Yeah, I'm checking on my phone. Yeah, December 7th is when we would return on
Okay, I
hybrid.
just wanted to make sure so it was clear.
Yes.
December 7th.
December 7th.
I move that we follow Dr. Patel's recommendation for moving to virtual for the next 2 weeks, based on the calendar that was just mentioned.
I second that motion.
I do have a question on the data. The data that said the positivity rate was 36.7%. So does that mean that when I'm looking at 3 people in Jefferson County, one probably is, has COVID?
I don't believe I believe it's per 100. There's a conversion factor, so it's not every third person.
Okay.
It's
because
based on how
that would be
many's
shocking to
tested.
me.
Yeah, no, it's based on how many are tested. Yeah,
What's that? Every
the
third
test.
test, okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Can I make a comment on if we go 1 full week and the 2 days? We will have to make sure that the kids and the teachers know that on Monday and Tuesday, it's what is that?
Synchronous.
Asynchronous.
Just synchronous.
Oh, it's just
Synchronous. No.
Live streaming.
Live.
That they are teaching and the
true.
kids are on the Zoom.
Yes.
And if there is a problem, if a parent can't get on, call tech, right? You guys, we should have, all those hot spots and everything like that. Yeah, if it's recorded, just please, please, I know that would make it a lot more successful for the kids if it was live or recorded, and that if the kids got on and did it, I think it would be successful.
Thank you for mentioning that, because we did discuss that as a board as well. When we go virtual, we would expect that our parents at home are having the teacher streaming in with them, Zoom, based on the calendar schedules that we've put together that are on our website and we've shared with our teachers. And of course, recording that so that parents can access that later if needed, because not all kids can access that at that specific time with their parents.
Yes, that's good. Okay, are we ready for a vote? All in favor?
Could I ask a question first? I know that we've closed a couple of buildings due to so many staff members being sick. Do we have some kind of protocol for that to happen?
Yes.
Still?
Yes.
And what are those requirements if we have to close another school?
So we have that in our re-entry plan. So when you have 5% of the staff testing positive, we can close up to 10 days. So it depends on the situation. It could be 5 days, it could be 2, it could be 10. But the 5% is the threshold that we look at. So and one more thing I do want to clarify that I talked to Jefferson County Health Department about. Right now, if you happen to, and I don't know if it is true right now, but sometimes right after we took that break, the 9 days, if there's a building and you look at it and it's above the 5%, it's accurate, but you'll say, well, why isn't that closed, Anisha? The reason it's not closed is because when you take that 9-day break, it's almost like it's a clean slate. So those individuals that happened to test positive were tested positive during the 9-week break. They never were exposed to anybody.
Well, I know it's between the time that a person tests and 3 days later, before the test comes in, it means that our data is really not up to date, and there's no way you can be any more accurate about that because of the time frame for the test. Are there tests that can be done more quickly, or do you have to be a special essential worker to do the saliva test, or do you know?
I know that there's some sites that do rapid testing. I think it just depends on where you go and how many people are waiting in line and who you are in terms of
Because I
essential
can see where a
workers.
rapid test of some of our teachers, as time goes on, would be very helpful. Because there are people who are maybe have similar symptoms, but actually do not test positive because there's all other kinds of things going on with sinus problems and allergies. And so it seems to me that if we could get some kind of rapid testing, we might be a little better at staffing our buildings. I don't know how we make that possible.
I think that's been the problem all along, folks. We never had really good testing protocols that's
So
available
much
to
time
us.
in between.
Any other questions or comments? I would like to say one thing, and that is, Nisha, I'm so glad that we are following the science and that we're being consistent on following the CDC protocols and keeping our essential things the same, that if we're in red, we're not going to bring more students back, and keeping the 5% positivity rate regarding closing a school. I think that just is something that helps ensure the safety of students and staff, and I think it gives us great consistency in our responses, whatever decisions are made. So unless there's more questions or comments? Okay, can we get a vote then, please? All in favor?
Yes.
Motion passed. Next item is Prop P projects update. Mr. Stewart.
Thank you. So the BRS design team is continuing their fieldwork, investigating existing conditions and developing designs for the design, development, and construction documents phases of the project. BRS members are meeting with myself, Scott Barbagallo, and other district staff in a continuing series of biweekly meetings to confirm scope and preliminary cost estimates and to review design progress. BRS is scheduling meetings with permitting authorities in order to review the project design and schedule. As far as Antonia Elementary specifically, construction documents are proceeding for the summer renovation package. This includes HVAC and lighting upgrades in portions of the existing building. The design development phase of the addition project is proceeding. This month, BRS has met with the school staff for input related to the library, art room, music room, offices, and the guidance area. The construction documents phase of the design is anticipated to begin in mid-December. As far as Merrimack Heights Elementary goes, an engagement meeting for school staff occurred on October 20th, or October 28th. I believe there was 3 board members in attendance at that. BRS has revised the schematic design based on that meeting and on the continued input from the school and from the district administration. The schematic design documents are in the attachment that you have there. And then as far as the capital improvements that occurred over this past summer getting wrapped up, the contractors are completing their punch lists, warranties, and their as-built documents.
John, I have one. I was looking at the schematic design for Merrimack Heights, and I noticed that the newest addition to the building is going to be demolished. What is the reason behind that?
I believe the biggest reason for that is the air quality in that area of the building, and apparently just the condition of that particular addition is just not good.
Okay, I think that building was built in like the mid-90s, was it not? And it's a block building. What specifically, I mean, when you're talking about tearing down a building that was built 20 years ago, that's hard for me to understand. And I think it would be hard for the community to understand too. I mean, was it built out of substandard materials or what?
I do not have a specific answer for that, Mr. Shalhoub.
I can talk a little bit to that and being there for so long, Mr. Shalhoub. That section of the building had that giant unit on it, and we constantly are fighting issues with water from the unit not dehumidifying, and it's also for some reason in a low spot, and so you have water that you're kind of fighting just from the way the hill comes off of there.
So we're going to tear down a building because it's got a bad air conditioner?
No, I don't think that's the whole reason. Another, when the design team was looking at it, they're also looking at future, making the campus operate more efficiently. And so if this is phase 1, they're going to look at the other phases of it to get the flow in the building better. And so by kind of reorganizing that instead of having dead ends everywhere, eventually if we get all of it phased out, it'll operate more efficiently.
What is going to be the cost of the demolition on that?
I have no idea.
I would think that the cost of the demolition couldn't outweigh the cost of putting a new rooftop unit on for that particular part of the building. I'm sure it's
Yeah,
only...
I think that was just a piece of it. I think that was just a part of it, is the maintenance that involved in keeping that in and then tying it into the looking forward in the design was my understanding.
the agenda is 5.1, server purchase. Mr. Stewart, you're up again.
Thank you. So the district issued a request for proposals for a Dell PowerEdge R740XD, which is a server, to replace an existing server that is beyond its support and warranty life. Budget funds are available as part of the technology replacement cycle. 2 bids were submitted, and a third company stated they could not compete for the bid. So we had the 2 bids, one from Innovation for $30,811.47, and another one from Converge One for $24,751.70. And so I would ask the board to approve the proposal from Converge One for the purchase of a Dell PowerEdge R740XD server for $24,751.70.
Okay, are there any questions for Mr. Stewart?
I make a motion to approve.
Can I get a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Motion passed. The next item on the agenda is 5.2, Chromebook purchase. Mr. Stewart.
Thank you. So the technology department is requesting to purchase up to 2,960 Chromebooks. These are going to be used to supply additional devices to the elementary schools and to aid distance learning during the pandemic, and to further support the one-to-one initiative by adding additional secondary grade levels to the 2021 deployment. So this purchase is being made using actually the Ed Plus contract, which I believe is a national contract, and it's providing the best purchasing option for the district. Funding for this purchase is being provided by additional CARES Act funds, specifically they're called CRF funds, that we received at the end of October for $760,533 that we received. Part of that is that it has to be expended by the end of December. And so we are asking the board to approve the purchase of up to 2,960 Chromebooks, not to exceed $760,533. So we'll make the number of Chromebooks fit within the budget.
And Luke, do you mind giving us a status on the delivery of those Chromebooks? Because I think it's great news. Yes, please, if you could come up.
I don't know if this is, there we go. So yeah, this is a great situation to be in for us. Part of being in technology has been a little bit of frustration lately, just because nothing is available, and we are in a major need in a lot of ways. In this particular situation, we believe that these Chromebooks will be in by the end of the week, which is absolutely magnificent. We should see about 2,400 of them in this week. So barring approval today, we'll be able to go ahead and get started, and our team will work diligently to get those done and then out to the students. So pretty miraculous thing, because there are none out there. Even if you try and buy them as a consumer, sometimes it's pretty difficult, so let alone 2,500 of them.
So are these the same Chromebooks we approved before?
So these will be in addition. This is what's so exciting about this. So when you approved your last round, those are still probably a week out at this point in time, maybe 2 weeks out, depending on it. So it shows you how backlogged everything is, the change of chips, the difficulty for shipping, and all of that has really delayed everything. So for us to get these in a week is just magnificent. They're sitting in a warehouse in Chicago. They happen to be a order that somebody else had done and then decided to back out for about 20,000 Chromebooks. So they were available, and since we are not an HP partner, they wanted to kind of garner some support for their business here at Fox C-6, so we were made a priority to be able to get them if we wanted them. So so this will be a total of 4,100. I did the math here, hold on a second.
So we have 2 shipments coming in.
Yes, so we have 2 shipments coming in that will cover. Now, we had said that with the last order, we were going to cover 6th and 9th grade as the beginning of our one-to-one. We are going to be able to do far more than that, which is fantastic. In a year, we'll be able to here now tackle both 6th, 9th, 10th, and 7th, and also give multiple carts to every elementary school.
So all of the Chromebooks that the schools have had to give out of their grade level assigned cart, they're going to be able to get those back again?
So we are going to basically throw Chromebooks all over the district like we've not seen in a really long time. So it's pretty exciting stuff. So, and also with the secondary schools being deficient in most locations, this is a really answer to a lot of the struggles that we've really had lately. So this will be great for the teachers and the students for sure.
Okay, can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Can we have a little discussion first?
Oh, you want, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
okay. You know, one of the things that I know we're relying on more and more all the time is Zoom technology, and that requires cameras. As we're going through all this CARES money, it might be worthwhile kind of thinking about making sure that we make sure we have enough cameras that, good cameras that teachers can use. And maybe we're already there with the camera thing, but just something to keep in mind as we talk about technology, because I'm not so sure that the Zoom technology is going to become just as important, and the production of images is going to be as important as the other technology that we're using.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's definitely something that's going to be pertinent everywhere in every classroom. So,
Any
also
other
on our-
questions or comments?
I make a motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
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 Thank you. The next item is 5.3, payment of bills. Group A.
So you have before you the Group A bills presented for your review and approval, so I've just asked the board to approve the bills as presented.
Motion, please.
I make a motion.
I'd second that.
All in favor?
Yes.
Is this the one I abstained from
Yes.
with AP?
Yes.
Yes, I abstain.
Thank you. Okay, next item is 5.4, Board Secretary pay rate. Dr. Brock.
We are requesting that the board approve a pay rate of $200 per board meeting, plus $25 per hour as needed for training and other special assignments for the role of board secretary.
Okay. Can I get a motion on that, please?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Motion passed. Next item, Dr. Brock, substitute pay rates.
We are requesting that the board approve the attached revised pay rates for substitute teachers and nurses. These changes would apply to both substitutes who are employed by the district and those who are employed through Kelly Services. So while our daily pay rate for subs is comparable to other districts in our area, the length of time that our subs have to work in the same position, subbing for the same teacher in the same location before getting a bump in pay, is much longer than it is in other districts. Currently, subs in Fox don't get an increase in pay until they hit day 46 in the same position. And most of first quarter, we did pretty well with filling our absences despite the quarantines that were coming up. But as more and more school districts have come to open in person, at least partially, whether it's in hybrid or a few grade levels, we're having more and more trouble filling those positions. And the increasing COVID rates are contributing to that as well. So we are proposing to raise these rates to have increases and bumps in pay earlier as a way to entice people to sub for us rather than to sub in some of the other districts for those who are employed in multiple districts, and hopefully to entice some of our subs who only work for Fox to go ahead and accept some of those quarantine sub-positions that we have so many of lately.
So this does include the regular subs also, not just the Kelly subs?
Yes.
Dr.
Okay,
Brock,
I
I
have a-
had one other question. Is this just for this year, correct?
Yes, this can be for this year, yes.
Okay, I have a question. Is this typical of what other districts are doing? Or are we putting this together because we think it will make it better for us? Or is this kind of what other districts are doing as far, I mean, I read through this and I don't object to making the changes, but I'm just thinking that sounds like a bookkeeping nightmare to try to figure where all this, where they started and how many days and whatever. But if this is typical to what other schools are doing.
A lot of other districts already have an earlier rate and then a rate for very long term, like our day 46. But in designing the proposal, I wanted to have one that would affect the 10-day quarantines. So that's why it's very early. And then also one a little bit longer and a little bit longer. So a lot of districts only have two. They might have one at day like 15 or day 11. And then they might have one for much further down the road. But I'm just trying to get everybody that I possibly can.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, can I get a motion, please?
Motion?
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Next item, 5.6, Memorandum of Understanding with Missouri Baptist, Mr. Fitzpatrick.
We're asking the board to approve the memorandum of understanding with Missouri Baptist University. This is an agreement that we update every 2 years with each of the partner universities to place student teachers in our classrooms. There are 2 items attached, one for a regular agreement and one for a special agreement to create a partner school where student teachers serve for a longer time for both semesters.
Okay, can I get a motion, please?
I make a motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passed. Next item is financial report. Mr. Stewart.
You have in your packet the financial statement, and we have projected there the familiar fund balances bar graph comparing our month-end fund balances over the last several years. And you can see in October we are about $2 million lower than we were at the same point last year. And this decline is mainly due to the state funding restrictions announced by the governor in July. Our expenses are also trending in a fairly typical pattern, and currently they're coming in slightly lower than the same time last year. You might expect that they would be lower more than they are because of our budget restrictions and budget cuts, but you also need to keep in mind the nature of some of the CARES funds. Actually, the majority of the CARES funds that we have received and need to expend are on new expenses. So it comes in as revenue, but then you got to increase your expenditures as well. So the decline in expenditures is not as deep as one might think it should be. And I will tell you, at this point, we have not had to borrow on our TAN. So that's a good thing. At this point, we have not had to borrow against our TAN, our tax anticipation note. And I anticipate that we will be before we get our first big tax receipts in probably the second week of December. But I'm hoping that we'll be able to put that off as long as possible, and we'll only borrow as little as possible. So that's good news. Now, last week, I participated in a webinar, actually a series of webinars that were put on by MOASBO and MASA. But the one in particular that I participated in, the speaker was DESE's Deputy Commissioner for the Division of Finance and Administrative Services. His name is Dr. Kerry Monses. He just retired in June as a superintendent, and I've known Dr. Monses for a number of years. And he shared the following good news about the general revenue situation in the state of Missouri. And this is all as of November 4th, so it's, through the end of October and then a couple days. So as of November 4th, the net general revenue for the state of Missouri, and general revenue is where most of the funds for education come. That's where they come from. Net general revenue is up by approximately 25.3%. That's $777 million. This is up because of the following factors. Individual income taxes are up 32.5%. If you all remember, the tax deadline is normally April 15th, and because of the pandemic, they pushed it back to July 15th. The fiscal year ends June 30th, so they moved their biggest stream of revenue from one fiscal year to another. So while it might be an overall zero-sum game over the 2 years, it's helping this year. Sales tax revenues are up 1.8%. Sales tax has remained strong because even though people aren't out and about as much or hadn't been, they're still buying online, and even though Missouri doesn't fully participate with online taxes, we do get some of those. Corporate income taxes are up also 64.2%. So those are the biggest areas where that's causing the revenues to be up this year. So this news bodes well for the possibility of the state restoring part of the funding cuts for this year. We won't know until later, but each month as we get our finance memo from DESE, the proration factor is reduced a little bit. So that is good news. However, as I cautioned the board back at the beginning of this, Dr. Monses also cautioned all of us that next fiscal year is likely to be more difficult than this one as far as funding goes. So if that is actually going to be the case, all districts in the state of Missouri, and that includes the Fox School District, are going to have to make some very difficult financial decisions in the next period of time in the near future. So while it's good news on the horizon, there's still storm clouds out there. Any questions?
John, do you think the news that vaccines are going to be coming available probably in the next couple of months will change the outlooks on even next year, the next fiscal year?
That what becoming available?
That there's vaccines that are going to be available that would impact, because I would assume the bounce back will be a pretty strong bounce back.
I would hope so. I think it all depends on the timing, Mr. Shalou. If vaccines actually come out at the end of this calendar year, or right after the first of the year and maybe in the first quarter, I think that really bodes well for all of us. But I think the timing of it really depends. Now, one thing, and I forgot to mention this, that Dr. Monses cautioned us about. So even though we've got, in this fiscal year, we're going to have 2 tax collections on individual income tax, the tax collections that will be coming due this coming April 15th of 2021 are likely not going to be anywhere near what they were in the previous year. Just because of people losing jobs and taking pay cuts and being out of work for periods of time. So
that would offset maybe some of that good news, at least in the coming year, for sure.
Yep. Yeah, it's a mixed bag, but I like to share the good news where I can.
Yeah. We all want to hear some good news, let me tell you.
There you go. I understand that.
Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Stewart? Okay, thank you. Next item is donations to the district. Dr. Patel. Oh, I missed that. I'm sorry. Thank you for keeping me on track. 7.1 budget adjustment. I went way down.
Yes, thank you. So the budget adjustment you have in front of you is the second adjustment for this fiscal year. The attached document that you have shows the various revenue and expenditure budgets that are being adjusted. All of these changes are due to updated funding allocations for Titles 1, 2, 3, and 4, and also updates for the CARES Act funding that we have been awarded. Overall, revenues are increasing by $994,000, and expenditures are increasing by $986,600. So that's what I was talking about before with these CARE funds. So there is also in this adjustment a reallocation of some budgeted expenditures between funds, and that's about $58,750 crossing over fund lines, and this is just to comply with regulations and policies. So after all these budget adjustments, our projected operating fund balance at the end of this fiscal year is 11.13%.
So move.
Second.
Yes.
Passed.
Thank you.
Donations to the district.
Yeah, I'd like to ask the board to accept the following donations. For Seckman Middle School, $2,800 from Midwest Bank. Ridgewood Middle School, $3,887. Simpson Elementary, $1,709. George Guffey, $225 from Mirage St. Louis. And then Fox Middle School for $6,024 from Midwest Regional Bank. Again, thank you for all the donations from Midwest Regional Bank.
Yes, indeed. Can I get a motion, please?
Motion? Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Next item is second reading and adoption of policies. Dr. Brock.
We are requesting that the board accept all attached policies for a second reading and adoption. These were brought for a first reading at the October 20th meeting and have not been changed.
Okay, can I get a motion, please?
Motion?
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion passed. Next item is first reading policy GCN, evaluation of professional staff. Dr. Brock.
It was requested that we bring the proposed revision of GCN to the board for a first reading and discussion this evening.
Okay, this is just a first reading, so then we would be receiving it and it would be brought at the December meeting for approval. Can I get a motion to approve the first reading?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. The next item, consent agenda 9.2 to 9.6, Dr. Brock.
We are requesting the board's approval for all attached hires, stipends, modifications, and separations.
Okay,
Motion?
all in favor?
Yes.
Motion passed. Okay, the last item is motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Okay.